welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, October 20th, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. A 4-year legal embroilment between the state and educator Otto Sam concluded today with the court ruling in Sam's favor. The case began when Sam, who was the former president of the SVG Teachers Union and principal of the Lomans Winwood Primary School, was transferred to the South Rivers Methodist School and later the National Emergency Management Organization NEMO as part of a disciplinary action taken against him. In outlining the circumstances of the case, Sam today told SVG-TV News that over a 4-year period he received suspensions, salary deductions, and eventually was terminated from the civil service.
It has taken about 4 years in the court, but at least the court has spoken, God has spoken to the court, and it virtually ruled that, yes, agreed with me that the whole action was illegal, it was irrational, it was unreasonable, the dismissal was wrongful and unfair, and, it pointed out the lines of after this in terms of compensation, etc. That I never ceased being a principal, because the truth is that Mr. Pompey, as the PS for national security, was the one who initiated charges, and he virtually was usurping the authority of the PS in education, because I was employed under the line Ministry of Education as a principal. And when Mr. Pompey charged me or initiated charges and was directed to do so by the Public Service Commission, he would have usurped the authority.
Expressing gratitude to his legal team headed by Jomo Thomas, Sam said the ruling by magistrate was a justified one. He explained that the judgment also requires that the state pay damages by December 2016, as well as 6% interest.
The half pay, when I was interdicted and sent on leave, I was paid 50% of my salary, and the other 50% was held. And then after I was dismissed, then there was no salary. So for the period that I was dismissed, because the whole thing is null and void, the whole action of the Public Service Commission and the Appeal Board, etc., etc. She virtually ruled that I never ceased being a teacher, I never ceased being a principal. So, and that ought to be continued, more or less, that the salary and all the benefits that were deducted were illegal, were not paid were illegal, and they must be paid at 6% interest as of, the date of the ruling. There's a good feeling that others who have been persecuted would understand that they must not give up, that God is with us, and God has never lost a battle.
Residents on the Grenadine island of Canouan will no longer be restricted to only certain parts of the beach due to resort development. According to President of the Canouan Island Development Council, the CIDC, Terry Bino, who has been protesting the restriction of beach access to locals, said a verbal agreement has been reached with new Chief Executive Officer of the Canouan Resort Development Company, John O'Dyer, to start afresh. Bino said that he was protesting, and the new CEO unknowingly approached him and called for a truce to the 17-year struggle between developers and residents.
I was protesting on Saturday in the entrance of the front gate. And when Andrew Foyle, a returnee from the States, joined me, so I left him at the front gate and I went to the back gate with some of my placards. And the CEO, without me knowing who he was, he came up to me and asked if I was Terry, and I said yes. And he said, let's talk, we need to talk. We need to fix this problem. We need to have a win-win situation for everyone. I knew it would have come, it's just a matter of time. We are happy that we could have come to a conclusion on this matter. Since we had to make that agreement with the new CEO, I personally went up there once just to test it and make sure we're okay. We have not gone back since.
Bino expressed appreciation to the new CEO for being more understanding to the needs of residents, and said that while logistics will be worked out as it pertains to access, specifically to Goodall Beach, a temporary system of 3 golf carts will be in place for persons to enter the facility and gain beach access.
He said to us, listen, this is not a scientific matter. He said, from today, everyone has the right to drive to any beach that is available to drive to. Goodall, however, he says, is a bit ticklish the way the hotel was built, because we have always argued the hotel was built in a way to block us off, or block us locals from entering. It takes up the whole beach, and apparently there's not much parking space or whatever the case may be. So he says you will have 3 golf carts prominent at the gate area, that if anyone wants to go to Goodall Beach, they jump on one of the golf carts and drive themselves to Goodall Beach. You see, this is a little bit different to what we're saying. Someone will give you a ride, and sometimes you get there, no one is actually there to give you a ride. So he said we can drive to Goodall Beach, drive yourself to Goodall Beach, until we sort out, maybe later, how we'll have a footpath or whatever the case may be.
There has to be greater action by independent nations in safeguarding themselves, especially when it comes to natural disasters, as it is never wise to play with nature. That's the advice coming out of the 2016 Independence Lecture held last evening by the UWI Open Campus at the Methodist Church Hall. We hear more in this report from SVG-TV's Nikita Tony.
UWI Open Campus hosted its annual Independence Lecture on Wednesday evening on the presentation Playing Against Nature in an Independence in Vincent and the Grenadines, highlighting that the educational institution has a legacy of promoting awareness among the general public on current issues which can diversely impact the society. Head of the local arm of the UWI Open Campus, Deborah Dalrymple, noted that this year's discussion seeks to provide persons with a better understanding of SVG as a nation and how it can better mitigate against natural disasters.
Do not know if we gave La Soufrière a second thought. After all, 1979 was so long ago. We can see that a disastrous event can occur when we show scant regard for the environment. And we know too the impact of natural disasters can be more catastrophic if we continue to mentally and physically remain unprepared.
Pointing out that the Caribbean is the second most hazard-prone region in the world, featured speaker and director of the Seismic Research Center, Dr. Richard Robinson, noted that the region's level of awareness and response does not reflect this. Stressing the issue of uncertainty when it comes to natural hazards, Dr. Robinson outlined that no nation should take chances with these disasters.
Observing them long enough, understand them sufficiently to know everything about them. It arises both from the fact that they're inherently unpredictable themselves, and from the fact that they interact in a complex with the environment. So we tend to lose in 2 ways. We lose both because if the event happens, because we haven't factored in all the implications of the event, you have direct and indirect losses because of the event itself. But also we can lose because of the fact that we have put mitigation in the wrong place.
Robertson urged persons to become more involved in not only disaster response, but to link the issue of disaster risk assessment and preparedness in order to better take action against these disasters.
Most money is still being spent on disaster relief and insufficient on preparedness and mitigation. So we need to not be just responding, we need to prepare for and mitigate against and put funding into that. The people who are doing the hazard assessment must provide better hazard assessment, people like myself. They must provide informed assessments of better assessments of hazard, and they must factor in it the understanding and communication of uncertainties. We can't just give a hazard map and not explain to the people we're giving the hazard map that there are certain inherent uncertainties in terms of what we're saying. There's a chance that what we're saying we are 60%, 70%, 80% sure this is what would happen.
The featured speaker also called for a more collective approach in the mitigation of all natural hazards, especially in the development of hazard policies.
Limited resources, lack of political will, inconsistent enforcement of laws, and the need for a shift in culture from a focus on hurricane preparedness to comprehensive all-hazards disaster risk management approach are seen as the biggest obstacles to success. You have to first of all integrate the assessment, the science part of it, with the mitigation, the planning and the engineering part of it, with the economics, the cost-benefit analysis, to come up with some policy, some decision, what I'm going to do. We need strategies to minimize both the losses from the hazards themselves, from the disasters themselves, and the effects that we may have to mitigate them.
Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
Recommendations coming out of the second OECS Ministers of Education Council meeting held here early this week indicate that more work will be done to broaden subject skills offering in schools, not only in SVG but the OECS sub-region, especially in the technical and vocational field. Recognizing that an education system must be in line with a nation's development, Chairman and SVG's Minister of Education, St. Clair Jamie Prince, noted that with the issue of a shortage of critical skills, the need arises for the enhancement of TVET studies and youth entrepreneurship.
It's brought up quite a lot. We lamented the fact that TVET has a stigma attached to it, and we're hoping that we will bring TVET more mainstream. We'll try to get people to understand that TVET is very, very important to the development of the sub-region of the Caribbean, and it is very important for the development of people's career. That's one of the things that we intend to push forward in this particular period.
Praising the implementation of an Eastern Caribbean Institute for Tourism, Montserrat's Education Minister Delmaud Ryan said such an institution can and in the development of the sub-region's human capital by building upon and infusing the skills of OECS nationals.
It's been agreed among us as members for Montserrat to be that hub for the institute. The progress of this is impressive, especially now that there is additional support to this program, and the encouragement is for all of us as a region to have persons in the sector, whether taxi drivers, whether tour guides, those working in restaurants, to have the opportunity to be trained up and skilled up and qualified in this area so that we can be competitive with those newcomers coming into the market. Most of us are fearful, or must I say there is a fear of that competition, and we know that we can be competitive by ensuring that our human resources are developed in this area. Hence the importance for education across the sector is in terms of how we apply the required methodologies and technologies relevant for the individuals to develop skills in that area.
Meantime, educators here in SVG and across the OECS member states may soon benefit from more professional development training opportunities, according to recommendations made at the second meeting of the OECS Council of Ministers of Education held here earlier this week, noting that as they aim to sharpen the skills of students across the sub-region, they must first pay close attention to teacher qualification and training. Antigua and Barbuda's Minister of Education, Michael Brown, highlighted that a study is set to be conducted by the OECS Commission to further assess what can be done to develop existing capacities in an effort to enhance the sub-region's education system.
Set out, and we have been achieving benchmarks of developing the human resource capacity by investing more in teachers and principals, not only in their training but in professional development and turnkey professional development as well. So from Antigua and Barbuda to Grenada to St. Vincent to Montserrat to St. Kitts, more and more we have been investing in the professional development of teachers and sending more and more teachers to be trained. And the University of the West Indies Open Campus within the last few years has literally transformed itself in its ability to be able to be even more responsive to the needs of individual countries in the programs that they are providing. So there are tailored programs I know that are being offered in Dominica, specifically to upgrade and train teachers. There are similar programs that are being offered in Antigua, and I'm sure along with the other member countries as well.
In its attempt to create a healthier society, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, through the support of its nutrition unit, continues to promote better eating and food purchasing habits through its national dietary guidelines and other public awareness initiatives. Vincentians are being advised that in order to achieve the goal of a healthier society, there has to be a more collaborative approach in this endeavor, as health is a shared responsibility. Nikita Tony has more in this report.
According to the 2014 National Health and Nutrition Survey, over half of SVG's population is either overweight or obese. With statistics like these, it is only natural for Vincentians to consider adopting healthier lifestyles in order to create a healthier society. In light of World Food Day 2016, which was observed here last Friday, October 14th, under the theme Climate is Changing, Food and Agriculture Must Too, Chief Nutritionist in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Andrea Robin, outlined that while persons are being urged to eat right, what they eat and how they eat can affect the environment, pointing out that climate change is real and can cause major impacts on food security and production. Robin urged Vincentians to become more conscientious consumers.
Buying less processed food, the more that the food and less imported food, because the more food has to be transported. Imagine the transportation is producing greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, and we can do our bit by only buying the amount of food that we need, knowing how much we need, which is an aspect of nutrition, buying what we need, proper storage and handling of the food, and making sure that we proper use of leftovers, for example.
Making reference to the National Dietary Guidelines, the Chief Nutritionist noted that while her unit continues to promote nutrition education, especially in schools, there is still more work to be done.
Where we want to have a less chubby society, but we have to make the decisions and the policies, and we're coming to the stage where we may even require the laws, the regulations, to make healthier or healthy eating environments. What foods are available and who is allowed to sell what to whom, it's very critical. And the same persons who would tell you they don't want their children overweight, but when you tell them they can only have water at a school, your support that so far.
Noting that what a person takes in is what they give out, Robin urged Vincentians to be more responsible when it comes to their health.
Ministries can do things, but ultimately the person who buys the food or who goes for the exercise is you, the individual. So it really, and it's your health. You are the one who will have the disease. The ministry won't have the disease or the problem. Try to follow the information. Try to really, people who have made strides in preventing disease or managing disease are those who have been able to actually adhere to and follow the guidelines cheerfully, willingly, recognizing that they're for their benefit and not something to harm them or make their life miserable.
Across SVG, staff members at numerous schools, such as the Kingston Anglican School, have seen it fit to promote better eating habits among their students and staff. One student, Brynell Joseph, gave her opinion on such an initiative.
It helps both children and teachers to get a healthy lifestyle, and instead of break times and lunchtime you buy the fatty foods like corn kernels and salt and whatever, you can just buy the fruits right here, and it would get you to practice a healthier lifestyle. And I am going to encourage other schools and other students to do this as well.
The Ministry of Health reminds Vincentians that the issue of health is a shared responsibility, and so they too must do their part in creating a healthier St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
3 students of the University of the West Indies Open Campus today received bursaries, which would cover 60% of their academic fees, as the Masig Charitable Trust continues to assist Vincentian students in achieving their academic goals. The students are Shari Roberts, who is pursuing a bachelor's degree in social work, Don Samuel, who is pursuing a bachelor's of science in management studies, and Janelle Thompson, who is pursuing a bachelor of education in literary studies. Speaking at the Open Campus conference room this morning, head of the UWI Open Campus, Deborah Dalrymple, said the university is grateful and delighted by the continued contributions being made by the Masig Charitable Trust towards the educational development of students at the university.
In surmise, the bursary is continuous. And I said that always with awe, because very often, as you know, a bursary, you might get awarded a bursary for 1 year. You might be lucky if you get it a second time, but most of the times it's a one-shot deal. And this bursary is very unique in that it covers the recipients to the entire process of their studies. And we are so very happy to be on the receiving end, and I say we as the open campus, so that our students can benefit from that. It covers the students, as I said, to the completion of your degree or your certificate. I would leave it to Mrs. Gunn to provide details as to the bursary itself, but suffice it to say that the donors of the Mustic Charitable Trust bursaries do not simply hand over a check and tap the students on the head and say good luck. They are very involved in the whole process of this bursary.
Trustee of the Mustic Charitable Trust, Lavinia Gunn, noted that the bursary is aimed at lessening the burden of students in need and expressed confidence that once they have completed their studies, the students will give back to the community.
And the intention is that this will lessen the financial burden of the student so that they don't have to worry too much about the remaining 40%. And one of the selection criteria is that you all have sound financial plans in place to pay for the 40%. So well done, you've done some advanced planning. Some of the other criteria is that you have at some point in your life or in your career become involved in community activities, because we want to select students who are going to give back to the wider Vincentian community. And again, you all got top marks on that, and you're obviously very committed when you have finished and you have accomplished and got your degree, that you're going to give back not only to your job area but to the wider community. So well done.
Past student of the UWI Open Campus as well as past bursary recipient Charlene Wiley thanked the Trust for the support given, which she said has assisted her and many others to achieve their academic goals.
I don't think there are any company in St. Vince that does that, and I must say we must give them a round of applause for their continued support in doing that. And at the end of my tenure, I was saying to Mrs. Lackram that I think we should do something for the Trust. I'm not sure what it is or what we can do, because a lot of us, we don't have finances. They are the ones who have supported us throughout our journey. And some small gesture of appreciation and thanks, it goes a long way. Sometimes we think that just by saying thanks, it may not do anything for us or for them. By just saying thanks and to show them that we support what they're doing, not for us, but for others as well, can go a long way. So I want to say my heartfelt thank you and support, thank you and appreciation, not only for me, but for the others for what you have been doing and continue to do for us at the UWI Open Campus. Thank you.
Superintendent of Police and Police in charge of the South Central Division, Elton Jackson, has said the police will spare no effort to arrest the crime situation in the country. His comments came on Wednesday evening when the country recorded 2 homicides hours apart. The victims are 19-year-old Kyron Sylvester, who received a single gunshot wound to the head as he was about to park his vehicle into his parents' yard in the Villa area, and the 32-year-old Edward Estefan, who received multiple gunshot wounds, including one to the head in the Diamonds area around 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Jackson told SVG-TV News that the authorities are aware that there are certain areas across SVG which require more police attention, and plans are being mapped to ramp up security in these areas.
And that it means that we have to rethink and continue to push. We cannot give up.
Should this situation give Vincentians any reason to live in fear?
No, this is what it is expected when these things happen, because we know that the fear of crime is something that will cause us to panic. But we don't want that. We cannot give in to criminal activities. All of us have to put our hands and our heads together and fight.